one thing and trying to pick milk or trying to pick DPR or something. We're actually going through and saying, all these things give us something, and then we need to make decisions with that. Clear, precise thing. Pat already talked about how many animals are being genomically tested. Now, the rubber meeting the road. Most commercial dairymen I work with say, well, can this genomic thing really have an impact on my commercial herd? Here's a commercial herd that we're looking at. We're saying DPR and reproductive outcome, daughter pregnancy rate. Will it actually tell us which cows are going to get pregnant? We're looking at the top 1/3 for DPR. We're looking at the middle and the bottom. Green line. You can see the girls dropping through the program. You see the green line, all of a sudden they get pregnant, stay pregnant, and are pregnant at a better rate and better survival than any of the other groups. So that's one. I did an organic Jersey dairy. Have been doing it for 3 years, and I went and crunched out their numbers the other day. There was a 16% difference. 16% difference from DPR of 0 or less, DPR of 0 or greater. So 0 is breed average, less than breed average, more than breed average. 16 percentage points difference. Showed that to the producer, and he was like, as an organic producer, I have to have pregnancies. And I have no means of anything other than heat detection and put semen in them. And there were 16% difference in pregnancy rates in those two groups. Here we're looking at DPR, first lactation, heifers. You got DPR less than 0, you got it of 0 to 1, and then you got greater than 1. You can see here what's the in groups. So we're looking at 7,500 animals. Goes back to Adam's question about big dairies, small dairies. You're looking at the AI rate, so your heat detection rate, your conception rates from 32 to 45. Pregnancy rates of a 19 to a 30. Source per conceptions from a 3 to 1 to a 2-2. So when we look at the averages, everybody, this is what we see on farms when we talk 21-day break rates and stuff like that. You know, we talk about conception rates of 30 to 35, 36%. We talk about heat detection rates somewhere between 60 and 70%. We talk about pregnancy rates somewhere between 18 and 22. So, you know, when you look at the average, that's the average, right? But when we break it down into the genetic values, and then what did those genetic values do in the farm, they're not the same.
Just real quick. And I know, it's really interesting to me that the DPR, which is one of the lower heritable traits, it's one of the lowest ones, and they're saying it's so low, why is it included in the TPI formula? You know, why? But you can see the difference it can make just by this graph here, you know, and especially with the genomics.
Yeah.
But isn't it genomically by far the most variable? I mean, you're finding out with all the genomic information, DPR has been the most consistent that really shows the high heritability for some reason, right?
I don't know about inheritability, it's the most expressed, right? If the animal has the gene, right? If the animal has the gene for DPR, she gets pregnant. If she doesn't, or if it's a negative, she has trouble. She struggles.
Formulas, that's the one that really comes through.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a good point. So it's not, I don't know about it, it's the expression. So when we see it expressed, we do see it expressed really well. So here's some of the formulas that we talk about. We have new fertility index now, and we have a new feed efficiency index. These are the things that go into those. The fertility index obviously has the heifer conception rate, calf conception rate, and DPR. Okay? So now we have a number. We can actually rank the females in the farm based on their fertility index. This is so new yet, I haven't been able to go in and take a fertility index and go into Dairy Comp and pull it apart, but I will here shortly. And we'll see what that looks like. And then the feed efficiency index, I don't know how I'll measure that in Dairy Comp, because you drive up with a load of feed and feed it to 200, 300 cows in a pen. It's pretty hard to figure out who ate what that day. You can get an average, but so anyway, we have feed efficiency index, and those are new. I guess, and those are new. And then TPI has been changed, and Pat's going to talk about that. So I'm leaving that one alone because I do not want to get in that discussion. We have a new economic index with Grazing Merit, and then, like I said, Pat's going to talk about that. So the new thing added now is Grazing Merit, and I just came yesterday. I spent over on the coast and was speaking to quite a few guys that were feeding or on grass, and they actually have some pretty good grass right now. So this is a big deal for Grazing Merit for those guys. This is a very limited discussion in the valley. I just don't run into a lot of guys on pasture. So here's all the merit indexes that we have. We have net merit, cheese merit, fluid merit, and grazing merit. And those are all the percentages you can see in the pie charts of what goes into that. So there's multiple traits, and those traits are then making up those different merits. So this is another rubber meeting the road. We took the genetics and we broke them apart by net merit. Okay, top 25%, bottom 25%, and then we took and said, okay, we need the stuff out of the dairy comp. We need to know what they did. We need to know milk. We need to know their fat. We need to know their protein. We need to know their somatic cell count. If we're going to rank animals by net merit, and we're commercial dairymen, we're putting all of our weight in this net merit thing, we need to know, is this really going to make us more money, or is it just an estimation and it's not that accurate, right? So when we went in here, we said 339 net merit dollars. There's supposed to be 600 pounds of milk, 29 pounds of protein, 29 or fat, and 20 pounds of protein, and a 2.85 on somatic cell count. Then we go over here, they were at 31,000. There were 1,179 pounds of fat. They were at 935 pounds of protein. They were 1.79 somatic cell count, this group. Okay? And we go to the bottom, and they were minus for net merit, which means that they were going to be minus $14 below the average Holstein cow of the breed. Okay? 69 pounds of milk, same thing, they're going to be 69 pounds below breed average. Fat, 4 pounds, protein 2, and they were going to be at a 3.1 somatic cell count. Okay? So then we go and see what did that group do. They did 26,000 pounds of milk, 26,028, 963 pounds of fat, 789 of protein, and a 2.49 somatic cell. So if you sold this group of heifers when they were babies, you would have never had to experience this, and then this would have been your new bottom. You would have had a 2,000 pound increase. You didn't touch the top. You didn't feed them some foo-foo dust or milk them 25 times a day instead of 2 or whatever to try to increase milk production. What you did is you went in and said, these aren't coming in my farm. And you just increased your bottom by 2,000 pounds.
Like with that, the chart that you had at the beginning with the genomic milk and the 305-day ME, if you do the milk by parent average, the chart's going to look pretty similar, right?
Parent average versus genomics?
Yeah, I mean, if I got a heifer that's parent average minus 400 milk versus one that's parent average 1,200 milk, she's going to give more milk than that one, just looking at parent average, right?
I can answer. They
I guess
from Tom Lawler said it's 75 to 80%. The parent average is 75% or 80% of accurate, as accurate as genomics. So you're losing that 20% accuracy is all.
Yeah,
so it's a good indicator, but
if I rank my 305-day MEs by parent average milk, my higher MEs are going to be on my higher parent average ones versus my lower ones still, right?
Yeah.
So I guess it'd be interesting to see what the number of animals, if I call on parent average on that fourth quarter, how many of those are the ones that I wouldn't have culled if they're genomic tested? And that would be like 20, they say like 25% of them move,
yeah.
where they're going to move to different ranks.
Right.
As much as this, there'd still be less.
Yeah, I don't know, I have a whole bunch of slides that I compared all the parent averages, and you're picking up, I don't want to quote numbers, but like Dennis just said, you're going to pick up a lot more milk. You're going to pick up a lot more accuracy and tightness in what you do. So the best are the best, the worst are the worst, the middle doesn't really matter. So, the middle, if you're talking about the middle, and you're like, well, is this animal, it's a middle animal, it doesn't really matter. What we're trying to do is separate the top and the bottom. So I do have some parent slides I should have brought this time.
I have a quick question on that. Okay, we're looking at those 4 groups.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're saying my 4th group there I get rid of, right? And what am I doing to replace that milk to consistently keep cash flow through the dairy? I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm taking 26,000 out of this, you know, if I'm up to 400 cows and I take 100 cows off the bottom, what am I doing to replace that? That's 100 heifers that I don't have. Even if I do a majority of things, I'm not going to replace 100 head on my dairy. I understand what you mean. Those are going to last. They're going to be better. They're going to breed faster. But I still can't replace that cash flow going through the dairy.
Yeah, I love what you're thinking. So when I say remove this, I don't mean physically pick them up and remove them. I mean, don't ask for their genes in the next generation. So then we focus in on the top 50% making the seed stock.
DMV,
So these girls will now be our seed stock, and this is where we're going to take the dairy and launch it forward. We're going to stop making these. These are, if you were in a manufacturing plant and you were making widgets, these are considered defects, right? They're not as good as these, okay? So we wouldn't want to make more widgets like these widgets. So what we're trying to do is stop making these widgets and make more of these widgets at a higher rate, so that there isn't these animals in the next generation coming in. So
Just a widget.
exactly it. Exactly it. Exactly it. I had to use something that was very generic. So I don't want to pick on anything, so we're going to be politically correct, right? So yeah, so you're 100% right. In a commercial situation, it's not that these animals are removed physically, but they're removed from the gene pool because we're either going to put BCM in them, DMB them, whatever, because we're going to then focus in on finding the genes that are going to make seed stock. And seed stock then is what moves the dairy forward. How fast can you do that? Yes.
Question, when you said you couldn't actually gauge feed efficiency with the feed weight and how much the animal ate, how do you gauge grass?
Oh, they've done tons and tons of really extensive work on that. And I wasn't part of it, but they had done a ton of work on grazing, and they had figured out how many animals, how many pounds of milk per acre or hectare. A lot of it's Australian, New Zealand. So yeah.
Feed bump would be the same thing on feed
but-
efficiency, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, no, they actually.
They're basing on those 34 traits though.
Right.
They're basing the grazing, they've done, but it's based on those 34 traits that we measure.
Right.
You know, so they've measured which of those traits contribute the most to grazing, you know, that we're measuring now. And that's how they're generating the index, so.
And the interesting thing about grazing, which I thought is they put a really heavy weighting on reproduction, because a lot of the grazing methods are seasonal. And so an animal either makes the breeding season and gets pregnant, or she doesn't, and then she doesn't have another grazing season. So it was interesting to see how much weight's put on reproduction.
If you put health traits on that, if you tie health traits to that same graph right there, will they correlate down the same way?
Yeah. Yeah, when you look at treatments of metritis, mastitis.
Well, like DPR, for instance, trends down along like everything else does.
Yeah, it does. You start looking at calving ability, and there's a merit at calving ability dollars. You're looking at an animal being able to lay down and have a calf. You know, the half of it is how big the calf is, right? But the other half is, can the dam even have the calf? So these animals are laying down, having a calf, very similar to a Jersey, where they lay down, have the calf get up and go and eat, versus sitting there struggling for a day, thinking about up and down and pacing and, you know, worrying about having this calf, and you end up having to pull it out. So those animals those are all negative events that happen, but those negative events happen because of her genomic makeup of her reproductive tract and her bone structure to get that calf out.
Hey, Paul, I think this is an opportunity for me to show my bias.
Yeah, I would love to hear it.
Not the way you think I'm going to. But if everybody's buying into the quarter and the bottom and move the top end up, you still get half of your genetic gain from your sires you use. So we get people that test their heifers and decide to breed the bottom to beef bulls or whatever. I fully understand that. and I'm sure nobody in this room has done it, but we have a lot of people that still want $4 semen. And I'd suggest that if you're gonna do this, and you're gonna create better ones in the top end, concentrate on the male side of it a little bit as you go along, because it's very frustrating when they say, we've done this, we're gonna do this. What do you got for $4? How cheap can I get
They'll give you 10 times that for $40
my bias?
I can't agree with you more. I have guys that I've been testing for 3 years now, and they're actually asking the bull studs, why aren't there more good bulls? You know, I've got...
This has increased, this has increased the interest and the knowledge on the genetic side more than anything's happened for a while.
Right.
Because a bull was a bull was a bull.
Right.
But there is still that group that will spend this money and think they can get by. And like I say, I'm sure it's not anybody in this room. Nobody's ever tried to grind us down in here.
This validates an old saying, plant potatoes, get potatoes. You will get what you reap what you sow.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think you're misunderstanding, they only want the $30 bull for $4.
Well, the other problem too is there's not enough semen off the best bulls to go around.
That's true.
You know, and the other thing, you know, like I've always, you know, people say, well, people shouldn't even use natural servicing. And I would totally agree with that if there was enough people that wanted to get up at 4 or 3 in the morning and go out and inseminate cows every day. But there's not enough people out there to service every last cow just in this state. So, you know, it's lack of enough good bulls to go around. Plus, you know, let's face it, economics always comes into play. It's easy to say, I'm gonna spend 20 or 30 bucks on every unit of semen I buy, but when milk price gets down to 11 bucks, you know, then you kind of go in survival. Everybody's the same.
Yeah, so there are some really great bulls coming, but everybody realizes that they're all real little. Like some of them are only, now that we're getting reporting, like Pat said, almost in 3 weeks, some of these bulls are 3 weeks old. They're, whoa, look at this new number, you know, this bull's gonna be great. And you're like, he's 3 weeks old. You're not gonna get semen from him for a while. Relax. So the bull thing is coming, but it takes time to ramp up too. Just like as we discover all these great cows, and we're finding.
But you can go, everybody's geared up to use just the top.
Yeah.
10%, the top, whatever. Well,
Yeah.
that next percent, just like these cows, is better than they used to be.
Yeah.
I mean, we can move down a little bit and still be pretty good.
Yeah.
Just don't go straight to the bottom.
On price, that's where.
Question on DPR real quick. On DPR, like I dry cows once a week, okay? And I think pretty much anybody in here would dry cows once a week if you're in a bigger herd. And DPR runs on a 4-day period, so I'm almost in that 2-day, or you know, plus 0.2 or whatever on DPR, whatever, for 8 days or 7 days. Now, does that take into effect when I'm drying cows off? Yeah, they're getting. Do you understand what I mean? When I get a cow pregnant,
Okay.
it's not going to be the exact day that she got bred to when I'm drying her off. That she's coming out of the herd. I'm going to dry her off on a Tuesday. She might have got pregnant 6-7 days ago, so she's going to be +6. Do you understand what I mean, or no?
I don't know if I understand how.
Days carried calf is not going to correlate to his dry days.
Exactly.
Days carried calf isn't going to correlate to his.
If you dry at 220, but you only dry 1 day a
Exactly.
week,
I
you
don't
might
dry
be
them
drying
every
some
day.
at 215,
Right,
some at
but
225.
drying's not, it's the calving, it's the
DPR stays open.
the day's open, right? So it's like she calved today, she was open X number of days, she got pregnant, and then she gestated for this many days and had that calf, and that was considered, okay, yeah, that is a real pregnancy to this, and they verified that, and that gives that
Okay,
bull.
so it doesn't matter.
No, it's all calculated on that bull's daughter, so he has 10,000 daughters, and on average, do they get pregnant?
Yeah.
You know, they volunteer wait period 60 days. They put a dose of semen in them, and 60% of them got pregnant, right? So then he's above breed average because the average breed of the breed may only be 20 or 40 or whatever, right? So that's how it's a mathematical equation, but But that's how they're doing it, and that's why it actually correlates really well, is because they take that daughter